In this section, we will cover two verbs, saber and conocer, that both kind of express in some form or fashion to know. Similar to the verbs ser and estar, ser and estar were two verbs that we covered that both meant the same thing. We learned that we use one over another depending on what the context is or what it is we're talking about. Saber and conocer kind of work that same way. Two verbs that mean the same thing that just simply get used in different instances. Okay, so let's take a look. So both of these verbs express to know. Saber is used when expressing that a fact or piece of information is known. So like when you know your phone number, address, or the location of a business, you would use the verb saber. Saber is also used to express to know when expressing that a person knows how to do something. So to say he knows how to rebuild an engine, we would use the verb saber. Conocer, on the other hand, is used when expressing that a person is familiar or acquainted with another person, place, or thing. So to say I know or I'm familiar with Maria, the verb conocer would be used. And to express I know Yankee Stadium, as in I'm familiar with it and I know my way around it, then the verb conocer would be used. So below in the table we have these two verbs broken down with their different conjugations. So I'm just going to read through them. You can follow along. Under saber, yo sé, tú sabes, él, ella, usted sabe, nosotros sabemos, ustedes, ellos, ellas saben. With the verb conocer, yo conozco, tú conoces, él, ella, usted conoce, nosotros conocemos, and ustedes, ellos, and ellas conocen. Okay? So those are the conjugations. We now know when to use saber versus conocer. We know their different forms. So now we're ready to take a look at some examples and discuss why we chose to use one verb form of, for example, saber over conocer and vice versa. So let's take a look at the examples. So somebody says to you, tú necesitas trabajar el lunes y el miércoles. And you say, yo sé. So you need to work Monday and Wednesday. And again, your response is, I know. Okay, I know that fact or piece of information. Thank you very much. Yo sé. Okay, the next one. ¿Tú sabes la respuesta? You respond, sí. Yo la sé. So do you know the answer? Yes, I know it. So the answer being that fact or piece of information being used. So again, since we're using facts or pieces of information or expressing that, we're going to use the verb saber. Okay, the next question says, ¿Ustedes conocen a Juan? And you say, no, no lo conocemos. So do you guys know Juan? No, we don't know him. Okay, so referring to knowing a person or being familiar with a person, we would use the verb conocer. The next one. Nosotros sabemos dónde vive Carlos. We know where Carlos lives. Where someone lives is a fact or a piece of information, so we would use some form of the verb saber. The next one, ¿sabes usar el programa PowerPoint? Do you know how to use the program PowerPoint? Again, referring to knowing how to do something would cause us to use the verb saber. Okay. Sabes usar, do you know how to use? Notice how the word how, we use the word how in English, but Spanish we don't. We just say sabes followed by another verb. So sabes usar, do you know how to use? Another example might be sabes manejar un carro, do you know how to drive a car? Okay. Let's see, the next one. Ellos saben hablar español. So they know how to speak Spanish. Again, another example there with knowing how to do something. The last example. ¿Conoces a San Diego, California? Do you know or are you familiar with, do you know your way around San Diego? So an example of being familiar with a place here, we would use the verb conocer. All right. So those are the two verbs, saber and conocer. They're different forms and when to use them. So study those instances when we should use them. Know their different verb forms, their conjugations, and I would say study the examples here. Maybe come up with some of your own. Feel free to email and check with me. Make sure you're on the right track. And that's it. We'll practice these some more in class.